PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we have a great show planned for everyone watching all around the world, as we're going to be doing a player profile on Alec Martinez, and we're going to be talking about how he is one of the best shot blockers in the NHL, and be doing a breakdown on the multi-time Stanley Cup champion, and as the defenseman, Alec Martinez. Now, before we get into that, go to PRConnectionsRadio.com. Check out all of the shows we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on PR Connections Radio. So go to the website, PRConnectionsRadio.com. You also go to the YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio. If you can subscribe to the channel, it would be much appreciated. We upload every single show to PR Connections Radio as we do Vegas Hockey Hub. It is Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to subscribe to the channel and help the network out, once again, go to PRConnectionsRadio.com and go to the YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio. If you also want to go to the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel and you want to like and share this video with all of your friends all around the world, would be very much appreciated. As we're trying to upload every single day onto the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, we're putting out shorts. We're doing player profiles. We do Vegas Hockey Hub recap shows after every single game on the Golden Knights schedule. So if you want to go to the YouTube channel for Vegas Hockey Hub, and once again, like this video and share to all of your friends all around the world. And lastly, go to our social media pages, as Vegas Hockey Hub is everywhere. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We are everywhere at Vegas Hockey Hub. Once again, that is at Vegas Hockey Hub. We upload all of our shows to the Facebook. We also try to interact with all of our fans on there. On Twitter, we do a live tweet. We tweet through every single game on the Vegas Golden Knights game. When it comes to Vegas Hockey Hub and the Twitter account, we interact with all of our followers on there as well. And lastly, if you want to follow your host at Ian Rachiele 18, that is IAN RACHIELE 18. I post some content on there as well. If you're somebody who wants to see what I'm up to, is go to our Twitter at Ian Rachiele 18. Now, getting into the player profile on Alec Martinez. So Alec Martinez, this has definitely been a good story for him. His career has been a very legendary one for Alec Martinez. But let's see how he got here. So Alec Martinez got his start as the 95th overall pick in the 2007 NHL entry draft. He came from the Miami Redhawks in the NCAA. Now, I will mention about Alec Martinez and the 2007 NHL entry draft. He was actually in a very star-studded draft. And actually, looking back in hindsight, even where he was drafted was a good spot for Alec Martinez, considering who he got drafted around. So just in that draft, not only did he have guys like Justin Falk, who has actually been a pretty good defenseman out in the NHL, you also had players taken around the same area as him, like, for example, you ended up having Nick Palmieri from the New Jersey Devils, was a solid middle six forward there. You also have guys who have done some pretty well stand-up stuff from the 2007 NHL draft. Wayne Simmons, who was drafted from the LA Kings in the same draft as him, was from 2007. You also ended up having some really good up-and-coming guys like PK Subban, who was a very accomplished and very successful defenseman, came from the same 2007 draft as Alec Martinez. So, 2007 NHL entry draft, he was actually one of the best defensemen taken from this draft and was very star-studded as well. Now, when he was playing for the Miami Redhawks, he actually would be on the same team as some future NHLers, Andy Green, who was a longtime New Jersey Devil, and ended his career at the New York Islanders after a cup of coffee there. He was a solid defenseman, a good defenseman who played well over 900 games in the NHL. So Andy Green, he played on the same team as Alec Martinez. Tommy Wingles and Ryan Jones were just a few guys who came from the Miami Redhawks and played in the NHL. And I know that he is a former Vegas Golden Knight, but I have to acknowledge that Riley Smith played for the Miami Redhawks, but he was a few years after Alec Martinez. So they never played together. But they were playing from the same university, the same alumni, Alec Martinez and Riley Smith. Now, Alec Martinez would go on to be named to the first team All CCHA, AACHA. And I will say for Alec Martinez, he definitely did a really good job in 2007, 2008 in order to get that first team All CCHA. As in 2007, 2008, Alec Martinez would end up having a really good year for Miami, as he would have in 42 games, 9 goals, 23 assists for 32 points on the year. And even the year before, in 06-07, he would end up having 9 goals and 15 assists in 42 games. So for a guy like Alec Martinez, he really showed at the college hockey level that he could be a good player in college. I mean, this is a guy who spent 3 years playing in Miami, and he really evolved over time. He kept getting better and better every single year he was playing in Miami for the Redhawks. And before he would become a professional, he would end his 3-year tenure with Miami, and his stats look similar to this. So in 123 games played, 21 goals, 46 assists for 67 points while playing in Miami, and he would have 113 penalty minutes in 123 games played. So for Alec Martinez, heading into that 2007 draft that I mentioned and put a lot of praise into, Alec Martinez would end up getting drafted in round 4 by the LA Kings. And this was a Alec Martinez that was definitely going to have to earn his stripes in the LA Kings. Since he is a round 4 pick, Alec Martinez would have to be in the minors for a little bit, but eventually he would earn his spot with the LA Kings. Now, what Alec Martinez would end up doing is play for the Manchester Monarchs of the American Hockey League. And in year 1 of playing in Manchester, 08-09 in 72 games, would have 8 goals, 15 assists for 23 points. Not bad for his first ever season playing in professional hockey. 09-010, he would play majority of the time in Manchester in 09-010, and he would have 55 games, 7 goals, 23 assists, and would have 30 points. Also, in this 09-010 season, Alec Martinez would become the alternate captain of Manchester. So for a guy who's in his second season playing professional hockey, to be named as an alternate captain is a big deal. You also have to come back and reflect in the 2010 AHL playoffs. The Manchester Monarchs would go on to make it to the AHL playoffs. And the Manchester Monarchs would beat Portland in the first round, would go on to beat Worcester in round 2, and then eventually lose in the Western Conference Finals to the Hershey Bears 4-2. Now, how did Alec Martinez contribute to this Calder Cup run in 2010? Well, Alec Martinez would actually kind of prove that he would be a good player long term, because in 16 games, he would have 3 points and 10 penalty minutes in his first ever experience playing in the playoffs in the Calder Cup 2010. So for Alec Martinez, he gets that first taste of playoff experience, and then 2010-2011 would be his final season playing in the AHL. He would play only 20 games for Manchester, 5 goals, 11 assists, and 14 penalty minutes in Manchester. The reason why he would only play 20 games in Manchester is by that point he graduated to the Los Angeles Kings and ended up becoming a solid member of the LA Kings roster by that point. So Alec Martinez would end up making the opening day roster in 2009-2010, and then would make his NHL debut on October 3rd, 2009. He played against the Phoenix Coyotes. And yes, he only played 4 games that season. Go back and play 55 games for Manchester. But for a guy like Alec Martinez, 2009, making his debut, and more importantly, making the opening day roster for Alec Martinez, that is a big deal. For someone like Alec Martinez, keep in mind, 2009, you're 22 years old. You make the opening day roster in the NHL 2 years after being a 4th-round pick in the NHL draft. So for Alec Martinez to go from being drafted by Miami, spending 1 whole year in the AHL, to now being on the opening day roster, being with LA, that was something that I could kind of say, in hindsight, was a big deal. Because Alec Martinez would show that he could be a valuable member of the NHL long term. Now, in 2010-2011, he would end up playing in 60 games for the Los Angeles Kings. After that 20-game cup of coffee in the AHL, he would go on to play 60 whole games that year and would score his first ever goal on November 24th, 2010 against the Montreal Canadiens. And in that 2010-2011 season, his rookie campaign, he would have 5 goals, 16 points, and 18 penalty minutes. In that, and by the way, for anyone who's curious who he scored his first goal against, well, actually, Alec Martinez on November 20th, 2014, he ended up actually I actually ended up having that goal, and it's actually quite fascinating when you stop and think about it. In 2010-2011, his first ever goal, Montreal Canadiens, was against Carey Price. So Carey Price is a well-established goaltender. He was one of the best goalies in the NHL for a long period of time. So the fact that his first ever goal in his career was against a Carey Price was good. Now, later on in 2010-2011, he would actually play in his first ever set of NHL playoffs. So in 2010-2011, he would play in the playoffs in the NHL for the first time in his career, as the Los Angeles Kings would end up lose in the first round, but it would be to the San Jose Sharks in the first round of the 2011 NHL playoffs. Now, I only mention this because in the 2011 NHL offseason, the LA Kings would give Alec Martinez a 2-year extension with the LA Kings. So Alec Martinez would go on to get an extension off that rookie season he had with LA. So Alec Martinez would then go on, and what would he do off of this 2-year extension that he gets from the LA Kings? Well, in 2011-2012, in 51 games, he would have 6 goals and 12 points, but that's not what most people care about. What most people will care about is the fact that Alec Martinez in the 2012 NHL playoffs, he would help the Los Angeles Kings win their first ever Stanley Cup final in their franchise history. The 2012 NHL playoffs, the LA Kings were an 8th seed entering the playoffs. They would beat Vancouver in 5 games in round 1. They would move on and sweep the 2-seed St. Louis Blues in the second round, and then would beat the 3-seed Phoenix Coyotes in 5 games. So Alec Martinez was a good part of that team. Of course, you had Anze Kopitar, had Dustin Brown, Jonathan Quick, but Alec Martinez was clutch when it mattered the most. And I will say about that LA Kings team in 2012, it was the true underdog story. Beating 1 seed, 2 seed, and 3 seed in a single playoff is impressive. Now, the LA Kings would go to the Stanley Cup final, and they would beat the New Jersey Devils in 6 games and would win their first ever Stanley Cup. Alec Martinez, his stats, by the way, in the 2012 NHL playoffs, in 20 games would have 1 goal and 3 points in that time span. Oh, yeah, but that 1 goal, well, he's actually learned to be a very clutch player over time. As a fact, Alec Martinez, in the playoffs is somebody that I would say has been a clutch member time and time again. As in the playoffs, he would score the goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. That one goal he had in the playoffs in 2012, it just so happened to be the opening goal in the 2012 Stanley Cup Finals of Game 3. So for the LA Kings, Alec Martinez scoring a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, his one and only goal in that entire playoff, kind of shows that when it mattered the most, Alec Martinez would show up for the LA Kings. Now, of course, we had a lockout season in 2012, 2013. There really wasn't much that happened in that season. But 2013, 2014, Alec Martinez would once again be clutch for the Los Angeles Kings. Not only in 61 games would he score 11 goals, which was a career high at that time, and 22 points, but Alec Martinez would actually score 5 goals in 26 playoff games in 2014. And not only did Alec Martinez score 5 goals in the Stanley Cup playoff, he would score 2 of the most clutch goals that you will ever see in the NHL. As in the final game of the Western Conference Finals between LA and Chicago, Alec Martinez would score against Corey Crawford and send the LA Kings to the Stanley Cup Final. And then in the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals, and here's the picture right here, Alec Martinez would score the game-winning goal against King Henrik Lundqvist, and Alec Martinez would then go on to win his second Stanley Cup final and be a 2-time Stanley Cup champion with the LA Kings. But there is no doubt that his 5 goals in 26 games in the playoffs was clutch. He came in when it mattered the most. And him scoring the game-winning goal in both the Western Conference Finals and NHL Finals, Western Conference Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, Alec Martinez would actually earn himself a contract extension. And not only would he earn a contract extension, but he would get a 6x4 deal by the LA Kings for his clutch performance. And this deal would keep him in LA from 2014 to 2021. Or some people thought he would stay until 2021. Now, before we get into eventually how he gets to Vegas, let's recap what he did during his final few years in LA. So Alec Martinez in 2014-2015, 56 games, 6 goals, 22 points. Though he's still a solid member of the LA Kings. Of course, Drew Doughty, still actually one of the best defensemen in the NHL at that time, definitely helped out with Alec Martinez. 2015-2016, he had 78 games, 10 goals, and 31 points in the 2015-2016 season. Now, the LA Kings would make it to the playoffs in 2016, but they would get bounced by the San Jose Sharks in the first round. 2016-2017, Alec Martinez would play all 82 games for LA, 9 goals, 39 points, and they would miss the playoffs that year. But Alec Martinez was showing that he was a consistent defenseman in the NHL. Alec Martinez was showing to the LA Kings that you need somebody that can, be there every single game. I'll be there. If you need someone who can shot block and someone who can make critical plays, I will be here. And it was a valuable asset with Alec Martinez. No doubt in my mind that Alec Martinez showed that he was one of the best players on the LA Kings during his prime in LA. I mean, no doubt from 2011 to 2015, Alec Martinez was one of the most valuable defensemen you had in the NHL. He was clutch. He was someone who made impact plays when you needed him the most. Now, getting back to his final 2 years in LA, because this is something that a lot of people don't bring up, by the way. His final 2 years in LA, 2017, 2018, he would have 77 games, 9 goals, and only 25 points. At this point in his career, his points were starting to plateau, and unfortunately for the LA Kings, considering they gave him that massive extension after the 2014 Stanley Cup Final, the LA Kings were looking to move Alec Martinez. And after his final season in LA, where he played only 41 games, had only 1 goal and 8 points, the LA Kings decided at the 2020 NHL trade deadline that they were going to move on from Alec Martinez. So the 2020 NHL trade deadline, he would be dealt to your Vegas Golden Knights, and the Vegas Golden Knights would give up 2 second-round picks in the deal. Now, before we get to the Vegas side of it, I just want to recap real quick his 11, yes, that's correct, 11 seasons in LA. So Alec Martinez, 62 goals, including 2 game-winning goals in the playoffs, 136 assists, 198 points, 185 penalty minutes, and 597 games played in LA. Alec Martinez is definitely a Los Angeles legend. Okay, he is somebody that's going to always be remembered in LA, not just because of his 11 seasons in LA, but Alec Martinez will forever be a Kings legend because of this right here. Okay, I'm going to show it one more time. This will forever be Alec Martinez's legacy in LA. This goal and the goal in Chicago will forever be what Alec Martinez is remembered for in LA. So I will say for Alec Martinez, it was definitely a good 11-year tenure in LA, but unfortunately, stuff happens, and the NHL is a business after all. So in 2020, he would be flipped to the Vegas Golden Knights. And I do want to mention, by the way, when it comes to Alec Martinez, what ended up to those draft picks, you might ask, by the way? Well, what ended up happening was that in 2020 and in 2021, it was second-round picks. Well, those picks ended up becoming, since I just want everyone to know the information, the Vegas Golden Knights pick that ended up being from 2020 ended up becoming William Kulile, who ended up actually being with the New York Rangers now, since it got flipped from LA to New York. And then in 2021, that second-round pick that was set in the Alec Martinez deal, it actually would end up becoming going to Ottawa, because the Vegas Golden Knights sent it to LA, and then LA sent it to Ottawa, and they drafted Ben Roger. So, actually, considering I'm not Steve Dangle, I don't do NHL trade trees, the LA Kings did not draft anybody with the 2 second-round picks they got in the Alec Martinez deal. The 2020 pick went to New York, and the 2021 pick went to Ottawa. So, Alec Martinez, as we get into his time with the Vegas Golden Knights, he would play 10 games in 2020 for your Vegas Golden Knights, and then would end up playing in 20 games in the playoffs for your Vegas Golden Knights. But not only would he play in those games for Vegas, he made an instant impact on the same line with Alex Pietrangelo. It was very clear and apparent that Pietrangelo and Martinez was your new defensive pairing of the future in Vegas. So Alec Martinez ended up having a good ending run for Vegas, as not only would he have 2 goals in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs, but he would help the Vegas Golden Knights make it to the Western Conference Finals, where unfortunately they would lose to the Dallas Stars in 6 games. But I will say, when it comes to Alec Martinez, he is somebody who has been clutch year in and year out. He is someone that you can rely on the roster day in and day out. So I will say for Alec Martinez, him getting there, him helping Vegas get to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back years to really start his tenure in Vegas. And Kelly McCrimmon would help Alec Martinez and reward him for his performance, as he would get a 3-year extension worth $5.75 million per year in the 2021 offseason. And Alec Martinez would end up actually benefiting from this, as Alec Martinez would play in 77 games in the 2022-2023 season. And not only would he play in all 22 playoff games that year for the Vegas Golden Knights, but Alec Martinez would end up becoming a three-time Stanley Cup champion, as he would actually help the Vegas Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup, as in the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs, he would have 2 goals in 22 games, but those 2 goals were very impactful for your Vegas Golden Knights, as they would help raise a Stanley Cup championship. So, for a guy like Alec Martinez, as we've been doing our player profile on this show, I will say for Alec Martinez, his overall career, and I'm not even talking about in Vegas, but LA as well, he has shown he can be a veteran, consistent, he's somebody who's a constant in Vegas. More importantly, when it comes to Alec Martinez, he is someone that in a locker room, you need in a locker room. Alec Martinez has shown that if you need someone to be a top pairing defenseman, he's your guy. If you need someone who's going to block 200 shots a year, he's your guy. And more importantly, if you need someone who's a champion, someone who's been here and done it, Alec Martinez is your guy. Because he has shown in his 15-year career in the NHL that he is someone that will be here day in and day out. And when you need a clutch performer, Alec Martinez is your guy. And I will say about Alec Martinez, kind of wrapping up this player profile here, his stats in Vegas, 175 games played, 18 goals, 64 points during his tenure in Vegas. In fact, it's incredible how he's almost 200 games in to his career in Vegas, considering he played almost 600 games in LA. He's played almost 200 games here. So for Alec Martinez, I have no doubt in my mind that he will have at least 900 games played by the time his career's up. And for someone who is a 4th-round pick from Miami, Ohio, to go from being a 4th-round pick, he had to work hard, he had to make the opening day roster in LA in year 2 of his professional career. To go from being that guy, 22 years old, making the opening day roster, to now being in his middle 30s and playing over 800 games in the NHL, being a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Alec Martinez has shown that he can be a constant. He can be one of the best defensemen in the NHL on your team. And since we always like to bring this up with about a minute left on the player profile, Alec Martinez has 1 year left on his current deal, $5.25 million cap hit. And the Vegas Golden Knights are definitely going to have to make a decision on him in this following offseason, but that's besides the point. The current point is this was your player profile on Alec Martinez here on Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. We do player profiles on every single player on the Vegas Golden Knights. Go to our tab that we have in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that, and we will have all of the player profiles we have done on Vegas Golden Knights players. And we are going to have more player profiles on the way coming soon to Vegas Hockey Hub. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. Continue watching hockey. Go support junior hockey. And go Knights, go.